Well, hello everyone. Happy National Scrapbook Day. Hey, it is Saturday, May 3rd, 2025, and today we are celebrating the official day of National Scrapbook Day. Hey, I am Karen McDermott Rolfe, independent advisor with Creative Memories. You can find me on Facebook in my private group at Karen's Croppers. You can follow my blog at karencrops.com, and I so appreciate your purchases through my Creative Memories website link at creativememories.com/user/Karen, and it's Karen with the Y. Hopefully you guys all like and follow along and subscribe to my YouTube channels. You found me here. So I'm doing just a special little layout today to celebrate National Scrapbook Day. Did you know that it was way back in 1994 that Creative Memories first initiated National Scrapbook Day? So that means this is the 31st year of celebrating this NSD event. I know that I was introduced to Creative Memories in the early 2000s, so I have not been celebrating it for that entire time. But I'd be curious to know how long all of you have been celebrating National Scrapbook Day. Do you remember way back in 1994? How many of you guys were around then in celebrating National Scrapbook Day? But it's a fun event where we can all celebrate our love of scrapbooking and memory keeping. And Creative Memories always produces some special products for National Scrapbook Day. And as you know, probably many advisors, Creative Memories launches the National Scrapbook Day materials in February. And then many advisors start holding their events early. So you might have already attended an event in March or April, or maybe you won't even attend one until June. You know, we have a lot of flexibility about when we actually schedule and hold our National Scrapbook Day events. I did a virtual National Scrapbook Day workshop this year, and you can still join that fun with that virtual event. I have a private Facebook group for my virtual NSD. I use the Creative Memories customer bundle to create my own exclusive layouts for National Scrapbook Day. So those are private layouts only available to those who register for my event. And they include a printable handouts, recorded videos, and then lots of sharing in that private group. And those are private exclusive layouts that we're not sharing anywhere else. So if you'd like to still join me for National Scrapbook Day for that virtual event, you can find information on my blog at karencrops.com. Go to the event tab. You can also find information about it on my Facebook group, Karen's Croppers. And I'll post a link here in the description to this video if you'd like to do that. Also, some of the gals that are doing, and they're still in the process of making my NSD layouts, are using other materials too. So you can substitute with other collections and other tools. And these are really highly decorative layouts that feature techniques. They take a little bit of time to do, and they're super pretty, you guys. But today I wanted to create a special one that I could just share with everyone here on YouTube and give you some scrapbooking inspiration on the actual National Scrapbook Day. So today I'm going to use just the project recipe kit, the NSD project recipe kit. So I'm not using the full bundle, just the kit to make this layout. And when you purchase the kit, you do get a handout here from Creative Memories that gives you an idea of how to make 2 double-page layouts of using the kit. They're pretty kind of simple, a little bit beginner style layouts. So I think the layout that I'm going to share with you today has a little bit more to it. We're going to be using some, in addition to the trimmer, we're going to be using the watering cans border maker cartridge and also the potted plant border punch. And I'm also going to be using the retired 12-inch decorative trimmer. So I think it was last year that Creative Memories retired this trimmer and it sold out with the company. But many advisors still have this in our inventory, including me. So I do have several of these on my shelves. And if you'd like one of these decorative trimmers, please reach out to me and I'm glad to mail one to you. So let's get started with my layout. Set these aside right now. We're going to start off with a sheet of avocado cardstock, and we're going to cut a hollow frame from that. And I'm just going to cut a 1-inch hollow frame. So I'm going to place the cardstock here on the top ruler at the 1-inch mark. I'm going to put the blade housing unit so that bottom right corner is at 2 inches, because when the bottom corner is at 2 inches, that means the blade itself is at 1 inch. So it'll start cutting 1 inch down. And I'm going to press and cut until that bottom right corner is at 12 inches. And that means the blade was at 11 inches. So I've cut to 1 inch there. I'm going to turn my cardstock and I'm going to just repeat that on all 4 sides. And I'll walk you through it one last time here when I make my last cut. So again, I'm placing the cardstock on the 1 inch mark to the right of the cutting mat. I'm placing the blade housing unit so that bottom right corner is at 2 inches here on the ruler on the trimmer arm. Pressing and cutting until that bottom right corner is at 11 inches on the trimmer arm, or looking at this white line where the blade is and just seeing where my cuts meet up and where I can stop cutting. And if you cut over a little bit, that's okay, because we're going to cover that up. For the background, I'm going to use this sheet here with the floral sheet, and I'm going to cut that to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. So I'm going to take off a 1/4 inch from 2 sides. Okay. And then I'm going to take my hollow frame and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere this sheet on top of it. I do have a cheat sheet here where I've written down all the measurements. So the first measurement here I told you was the 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. And I'm just using my repositional tape runner now, putting it on the edges of this background paper. And then I'm going to plop it down and try to center it, do my best to center it on the hollow frame. And make sure, trying to get it straight also. There we go. So we have our background, and I'm just going to set that aside right now. Let me press it. And let's see. I think we're going to take this sheet. I'm looking at the order that I wrote the measurements down so I could keep my excuse me, my steps straight. Boy, I have a little bit of spring allergies happening. How about you guys? Okay, so I'm going to take this sheet here of the icon paper that has the watering cans and the tomato plants, and I am going to cut off a piece that's 1 3/4 inches wide. So I'm going to give it a turn because I'm looking at the pattern. And I'm going to go to 1 3/4 inches and cut. Okay. And then I need to cut off a 1/4 inch to make it 11 3/4, right? So we have our border now. That's 11 3/4 by 1 3/4 inches. And it pretty much has the whole pattern of these tomato plants on it. Okay. I'm going to turn this paper over to its back side, and I'm going to cut a yellow strip that's just about 1/2 inch. And I don't have that on my sheet. Okay, so we need about 1/2 inch of the yellow. Okay. And we can set these papers aside now because we're done with them. So I am going to put some adhesive now on the top edge of the big border. Okay. So on the top edge of this, and I'm going to adhere it to the yellow strip, leaving, about 1/8 inch of the yellow showing. So it's kind of give the illusion that it's matted, but I'm conserving my paper. Oops, and I forgot to trim the yellow strip, so I need to cut off a 1/4 inch off of that yellow. And then we'll take the background page again, and we're going to adhere this to the bottom. And I'm going to leave the avocado cardstock frame showing. Looks like I didn't get a smooth cut there. Or I think I overcut when I trimmed the yellow off of it. I accidentally cut into the larger strip. So let me just use my scissors there. And it kind of does look like I need to just take a hair off of this. It looks a little bit longer than an 11 3/4. So I'm just going to take a hair off. This happens when our trimmer, you know, when we're lining things up, if we don't have our piece exactly on the cut line or on the ruler, say we're just a little hair over it or a little hair under it, that's where you get a little variation in your cuts. So again, I'm gonna, since I had used that repositional adhesive, I was able to easily pull that up and then adhere it back down, all right? Okay. Our next step is to take this dirt paper. The back side has the green print on it. And now we're going to use the decorative trimmer here. And the decorative trimmer is nice because you get two different cuts with this. On this side, we call it the swell. And on this side, we call it the wavy. So I want a wavy piece that's 1 1/4 inches. So I'm looking up here at the top ruler at 1 inch, and then I'm going to come over to 1 1/4 inches, close my arm, and I'm going to cut here. So this piece is 1 1/4 inches high now, okay? And now I have the other edge also. So I'm going to preserve that other edge and just cut this off, again, at about 1 1/4 inches, more or less. You know, it doesn't need to be precise. And I'm going to take my original one that I know that is 1 1/4 inches, and I'm going to cut off 1/8 of an inch from each edge. Okay, 1/8 of an inch from each edge, because that's going to cut it down to 11 3/4. Okay, and it's going to preserve the pattern of the wave by taking that smaller bit off of each side. Okay. Now what we want to do then with the second one is we're going to layer it underneath, and I don't want them to be, how do I want to say this? I want it just to be a little bit off center. See if that's making sense here. Because what we're going to make these are going to be mounds in our garden, and I want it to look like rows. So I don't want to place it right in the middle of the bumps, okay? I just wanted it off a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is just put some adhesive here on the strip that'll be on the top. And I'm going to position it here so those waves, the humpy part, is just a little bit over. And I'm going to hold this up to the camera and show you better when I'm done. Okay, so see how it's just over a little bit? This hump is over a little bit from this one. So it's not really right in the middle of the dip. It's just over a little bit from the wave part, okay? Now we do need to trim this. So I know that the top piece was my 11 3/4 measurement, right? So I'm going to just line that up there on the trimmer and cut off that overhang. Or I could use my scissors also to just even that up. Cutting off part of the bottom piece here is what I'm doing. Okay. Now we're going to take the center part of the avocado cardstock, and we're going to punch some borders using the potted plant punch. So I've opened up my punch. I inserted my paper there at the top of the paper at the black line, and now I'm pattern matching and punching. And I'll show you that better again here with my next punch. So anybody if you're not familiar with our border punches, they have these little black lines here on the front face. And that's where I'm going to line up the top edge of my paper. I can use cardstock or paper. I'm using the avocado cardstock. And I have the cardstock lined up there with that black line. And that's where I'm going to make my first cut. But I'm also making sure that the cardstock is flush against the tray here on the punch. So it's all the way tight against that back. And I'm punching down. And now I'm going to pattern match. So I'm going to look at the pattern that I punched, overlay it on the printed pattern there on the tray. And when it overlaps, that's when I punch again. And then I pull through and I keep doing that. Okay. And it makes a 12-inch border. Of course, I'm not using a 12-inch piece right there. I think I'm going to need a third one. So while I'm at it, let me just go ahead and punch that third one. And now I'm going to take my microtip scissors and I'm going to cut these apart because I don't want the big pot. I'm just going to save those for another use, a different layout. I want the pots with the little sprout on it because I'm trying to recreate my garden. And this is exactly what my vegetable garden looks like right now. Oh, about a week and a half ago, I planted some seeds. I got some tomatoes and peppers from the nursery, the garden shop, but I've also planted some beans, zucchini, cucumbers, and beets by seed, and all those little seedlings have now sprouted and have come up in my garden. So I'm looking at my nice little rows with the plants coming up. Of course, there's a lot of weeds in my garden right now too. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of repositional tape here on the pot portion. I'm going to make sure that my leaves are all going the same direction. When you look at these pieces, you'll see there's a larger leaf and a smaller leaf. So I have them going the same direction. I think I need 6 of them to start with. Okay. So now I'm going to take these and I'm going to place them behind the little humps or the waves like this, because they look like the little mound of where each seedling is coming up. Okay. So I've got the mound in the back, the mound's in the front, and when you kind of look at it, from an angle, it can kind of look like, they're 2 rows just off a little bit. Oops, it looks like I'm going to need one more. Right here. And now they're kind of short, I thought. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just trim these off. I wish the stem was a little bit longer stem, but of these remaining ones, I'm going to snip those off and I'm going to try to layer them behind. So maybe, okay, I'm going to look at the mounds that are behind, that are in the back. And I think that's where I'm going to try to adhere these pieces to and try to make it a little bit longer. But I don't think this is going to work. I don't think I'm going to have enough to adhere it to. So I might have to punch another border. I think what I should have done is this. See how I'm cutting up into the pot? There we go. See that? I made a big long stem. I think that's what I needed. And that's where I'm going to put that adhesive. And then I could place it behind and it'll just kind of look like it's a little bit more substantial. Do you see that? It makes it look like it's a little taller and more substantial. So I am going to punch another border to get some more pieces. It is getting ready to rain at my house. We desperately need it here. I'm down in the southeast Tennessee right now, and it's been really super dry spring, really unusual spring. So dry. It's really unusual even to get wildfires in this part of the country, but we've already, and really unusual in the spring, right? I mean, it'd be more likely to happen in the fall or end of summer. But to already have wildfires this early, it's a little bit discerning. So we are really glad for some rain. My garden will be too. And my husband is the waterer. I do the planting, the weeding, and he does the watering. He'll help me with the harvesting. Sometimes we both kind of take turns with that. Every year when we plant the garden, we always say, this is going to be the year. It's going to be a really great garden. We're going to have a lot. And then it always just kind of doesn't happen that way. It gets too hot too quick down here, I think, is what happens. And even though, you know, we water, it's just still not enough for the plants. But we managed to get enough for the two of us, and we really love having these fresh vegetables. So there we go. I didn't do it on every one. I left the ones in the foreground shorter, and then the ones in the background I made a little taller. Okay, so we have a little bit of variety there on our border. We're going to take our background paper again, and I think it's going to go right there, but I want to do another piece to add first. Let's see. I forgot to pull it out. I'm rummaging right now for some bright white cardstock. I think I'm going to have to grab a full sheet. There we go. I'm loving the bright white cardstock, by the way. This is new to Creative Memories this past year, the bright color. It's really like a true white. You know, our old original white color is more creamy. It's a creamy white, which is beautiful too, and use it, but just for a lot of the different things, I like the brightness of the bright white. And now I'm going to insert that watering can's border maker cartridge, and we're going to punch a border. If you're not familiar with our border maker system, we're going to line up this embossed piece here on the cartridge holder. And we're going to look at these notches here on the arm of the border maker tray. And when those line up, that's when you punch. And you can feel it go right in. You could probably see that too, or how it kind of slides right in. And then just go all the way down and punch. Really nifty tool. We love collecting our new border maker cartridges. And now I'm going to trim this off of the cardstock. Oh, probably, you know, about 1 inch, maybe a little bit shy of an inch. Okay, like this. Now we're going to do some layering here. So I don't really want that bottom, the straight piece, because I just want it to look like watering cans. But this little area is going to give me a place to put my repositional adhesive. And I guess I really shouldn't have adhered that bottom border yet. I should have just maybe layered all these pieces together at one time. I am going to trim off these partial watering cans that are on the end of the border. They look a little funny to me. And I'm going to take my multi-purpose tool, and I'm just going to kind of pry this edge up a little bit. There we go. So I can slide it under the yellow part. So it's just going to look like watering cans popping out. And I see something else I forgot to do. I needed to trim the length to 11 3/4, right? So I'm just going to carefully snip off this overhang of the white border. make it flush. Okay. And you'll notice I didn't put any adhesive on the water can part because now I'm going to slide this border underneath it all. And I'm probably out of frame. Again, I'm using the repositional tape, just putting it on the edges, the tops of these little sprouts. And now I'm going to slide that under here. And we're going to have this nice layered border. And as I'm looking at it, again, I see that it's not quite, let me see, I think I want to come up a smidge. I'll adhere it down there on that right side, but I have a little bit of overhang right here. So again, you know, my cutting to that 11 3/4 inch was a little bit off. So I'm just going to trim that up. That would have been all easier to do if I had just assembled the whole border separately and then adhered the entire thing to the layout at the end. Okay. And I'm looking, and I don't know. I don't think I'm going to put any adhesive under the watering cans because they're kind of, I mean, they're secured down here, right? Let me make sure my border is secured good. Okay, so the border is secured well, but I've got some dimension happening here because I did not adhere the watering cans, right? I'm not going to put foam squares under each one of these little cans, but I think by leaving it loose, it does give some dimension and it looks like it's kind of coming off a little bit of the border. Okay, so now we have the bottom border and it looks like my garden. Now, for those of you guys who don't have a vegetable garden, but you'd like to do this border, you have these punches and you like to use them. What some of my customers have done is added tiny flower punches to these pieces, to the pots, you know, so if you're using the whole border. So they added some little flowers in there. So it made it look like, you know, a flowering plant or flowers. So that could be a way to make it look less like a vegetable garden and more just like flowers, which are a little bit more universal and versatile, I think, as a layout. If it's just kind of has some flowers and you could use it for lots of different types of photos. Where, you know, the garden layout, you're getting a little bit more into a true garden layout, right? Now I have some photo mats here already cut. And let's see, I think they're on the back side. So those larger mats are 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then the smaller one is 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. So I'm just gonna kind of lay these pieces out. Because I'm not done yet. I have some strips here that I cut. These are 1/2 inch wide by 5 inches long. I forgot to write that on there. So 5 inches by 1/2. Okay, and these are going to be my journaling pieces. But what I'm going to do, I think, I'm going to make it look a little bit like the fence that surrounds my garden. Because we definitely need a fence. It does have some chicken wire. I've got a nice wooden fence, and then it's got chicken wire on the back side to keep out the rabbits. The rabbits are really destructive. I can't keep out the deer. They just hop right over the fence, but pretty much they haven't been that big of a nuisance in the garden. They did walk through it right after I had it planted. I did see some deer prints in there, but they find lots of other things to eat. They prefer some of my flowers. But we're kind of by a wooded area, so they have some other things to eat. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dual tip pens now, and I am going to add a little bit of shadowing to these pieces. Again, making it look a little bit like a fence. So I had already, to save time, I already inked on one long side of these pieces. So I'm taking my pen, the round edge of this dual tip pen, and carefully going around the edges. Now, if I go over a little bit, that's okay. It's just going to give it, see there, it's a little wider. It's just going to give it kind of a dirty, garden look. Now, that was too much. So we have the back side. I need to learn. I need to not talk and do this at the same time. I need to concentrate. If you have small little ink pads, you could use those to do your inking on the edge. Or if you have a little dauber, those are going to be easier than doing this pen method. Okay. So these horizontal strips of my fence will be where I'll add some journaling. So now I'm going to have space for journaling. I think I did that one. It's just not showing up real well. And I need to do the other sides. These two shorter ones, I think, are 3 3/4. I'll give you that measurement in a second. Since we tend to hold our National Scrapbook Day events a little early, lots of us, kind of by the time the actual event, like today, rolls around, it's kind of like an old thing. You know, I know that you've used up your kit materials and you've already done your layouts. Yes, the shorter pieces are 3 3/4, and then these longer pieces were, ooh, no, I made them even shorter, 4 3/4. So I'm glad I measured that. So the longer ones are 4 3/4, and the shorter ones are 3 3/4. Okay. Whoops. So I just kind of wanted to get arrange my pieces here before I started hewing them down. I'm going to put the post, the shorter pieces underneath. And I'm just going to kind of center this all on the layout a little bit better. So they're thinking that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere these mats now, and then I can adhere the fence. I just returned from an incentive trip that I earned as an advisor with Creative Memories. We went to Cancun this year. It was wonderful. I had a great time with my advisor friends. I got to go to Chichen Itza, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and we were at a really nice all-inclusive resort. So that was a lot of fun. So if there's anybody out there who loves paper crafting and would like maybe to take a stab at having your own Creative Memories business, please reach out to me. You could use the contact me portion there when you go to my blog. Go to KarenCrops.com. Again, it's Karen with a Y, KarenCrops.com. Contact me and shoot me an email, and I would be glad to talk with you about the business opportunity that we have with Creative Memories and how you too can earn a trip. You can make in a little extra pocket money. You could get your own scrapbooking materials at a discount. Something with our, the new Creative Memories, when we launched the new company 10 years, it's been about 11 years now. It's going on 11 years this fall. We no longer have minimums that you have to maintain. So that is something different than other direct sales companies. It's something different than the old Creative Memories too. So I would be glad to chat with you about that and give you all the info you need. And to have you join my team, and I'd love to coach you. Yikes. I think I'm going to need to kind of move this mat over a little bit. It looks a little crowded right there. Next year's incentive trip is to Jamaica, again going to an all-inclusive resort, which is really nice. Those all-inclusive resorts, have several restaurants, several pools, a spa. They have activities going on. So lots of fun. And they're on a beach too, right? The beach. Okay, so I just did a little bit of moving to kind of get that spacing to give the fence a little bit more space. So now we're going to look at my stickers, and I was thinking I would use this Planting Joy. And I'm also going to use our anti-stick powder tool. I just love this. You guys who've been watching me for a long time know that I used to use baking soda, right? Baking soda to take the stickiness off the stickers. But with this anti-powder tool, it's really nice. It's all contained. It's not messy. It's got the little sponge. It comes out very fine. And it just takes off the stickiness of the sticker to turn it into an embellishment so we can more easily use foam squares to give it some dimension. There we go. And I think I'm gonna just over layer it right here. And I think I need something else. Let me see. I was gonna layer a couple of these little tiny leaf pieces. These are really small little stickers, but if you overlap them like that, it gives it a little bit bigger footprint, right? And I'm going to take one of the small foam squares, stick it on the back, hold them together, kind of get a shape that I like. There we go. Maybe put that right up there. Bring a little bit of the green up there. And I think I need something over here, and I would like to repeat the yellow. I've got that little bit of yellow down there. So we've got the yellow heart, and I'm gonna take two of the leaf pieces now, and I'm gonna put them behind the heart here, kind of layer this, make a small little cluster of 3. There we go. Whoops, sticky, sticking to my finger. I'm going to try to take off a little bit of that adhesive. Again, I'm going to put foam squares on them. It's moving around on me a lot. It's kind of hard to deal with those small little pieces. Okay. But I'll use that foam square there to hold it all together. There we go. And I think maybe right here would be a good spot. So I've repeated the yellow. I wish I had a little bit more yellow, but I really don't want to use the trimmers or the clippers over there. So I think I'm going to just stop right there. So I can take some pictures now of my emerging seedlings sprouting in my garden, a little close-up of some. I have a little space here to journal a little bit about what's in my garden. And I used our National Scrapbook Day kit to make this National Scrapbook Day layout for you. So everybody, I hope that you can do something today to celebrate again your love of memory keeping, of paper crafting, of scrapbooking, whether you make a layout, you make a card, maybe you just take some photos. Maybe you upload your photos and get some printed photos. That would be great too. All right, everybody, thanks so much for following. And I'll be back here in a few days with my May Technique Tuesday layout. So I'll be sharing a scrapbooking technique with you here in a couple days with a new layout and a new challenge for everyone. Thanks again, you guys, for following me here on YouTube and for subscribing to my channel. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.